Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to today's video. So for those of you that are subscribed to my channel, first of all, thank you very much. I know I've only got like 160 or something like that, and I know I keep saying that I'm going to be releasing videos, but it just takes some time to work on the content. But yeah, today's video we're going to look at how my first car went from this to this. And it's a no hold bars conversation. I'm going to reveal all and be completely honest about the whole situation. So this took place back in 2009. So this is some time ago now. So I'm telling my age a little bit. And we're just going to be honest about it. So we're going to talk about what happened, what went wrong, which is quite clearly obvious, I guess. I hit a lamppost. We're going to talk about the cost of it, the punishment that I received for the incident, and yeah, what then happened afterwards, which kind of loops into sort of part two of this video. So this, I guess you could say this is me a part one. But yeah, let's go straight into it. We're going to go through some of the images, then we're going to go through the scene of the incident, and then yeah, let's get it.
So yeah, here we can see the car itself on the back of the recovery truck. Not really much to recover, let's be honest, just a crashed Saxo, piece of tin essentially. But interestingly, the chap that recovered the vehicle, because at this time I was in hospital getting checked over, but the chap that recovered the vehicle, he actually thought someone had died. And to be honest with you, if I'd seen that crash, or if I was driving past and saw that car on the back of the truck, I would be like, yeah, someone's dead. So yeah, pretty crazy, right? So now we move on to a view at the front of the car. So you can see on the right hand side, I'll circle it here. That was the impact where I hit the lamppost. So the back end skipped out. I've just gone straight into the lamppost on the left hand side of the car, and then yeah, you can see it here now. Actually, here's a close up of it. Absolutely mangled to pieces. That's the only word I can use to describe that. And yeah, and then we'll move on to the next picture now. Yeah, so this one is just another picture really from the front of the car, but you can see the wing completely destroyed essentially. And yeah, I mean, not much more to add on that one. Then we move into the side of the car. I mean, here we can see A pillar, B pillar, and even the C. And the further to the right, it's just absolutely the crumple. It's just gone. Yeah, I don't know whether it's an old tale or anything like that, and I suspect this is true. And by all means, pop a comment below. But my understanding is as soon as any of the A, B, or C pillars integrity is compromised, the car's pretty much written off because there's not much you can do to it. So even if someone went up to your A pillar or B pillar and sort of like tapped it with a hammer and it basically put a dent into it, I think it's completely gone. So now we move on to the boot of the car. Now, if you look closely, you can see there is an 8-valve engine from a Bureau in there, and you also can see just to the left the flywheel and actually the gearbox. So yeah, they came out the front of the car upon impact. Both of the crash bar obviously non-existent, and then the front legs of the car completely split. And then the engine, basically the force I hit the lamppost just literally flew out the front. Thankfully there was no passers by. And if you look back at the video, you would notice the recovery truck had an arm on it. Yeah, that needed to basically pick up the engine and plonk it in the boot. So yeah, not bad boot space for a Saxo, right? And then the next picture we can see the driver's seat. And I don't think I've touched on it, but essentially the police basically said to me that if I had a passenger in with me at the time, they would have easily lost both their legs because of the crumple zone and the impact, which is pretty scary, to be quite honest, that my actions could have caused one of my friends or a passenger to have lost their legs, which is pretty humbling, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, and if you're also quite eagle-eyed, you'll also see the speedometer there. And if you can see that, I know that the point of impact was approximately 55 miles an hour. And yeah, the reason it stayed at 55 is because the whole engine's just ripped out. The loom's obviously detached from the car. And yeah, it's just basically displaying at what point of impact it was. Because obviously the car didn't have time to sort of decelerate, as it were. It just came to a grinding halt. So yeah, that sort of shows you that I was driving around 50. Well, the point of impact was 55-60. So again, this sort of highlights just how reckless I was driving, to be quite honest. But we're gonna, when we get to the scene, I'm gonna be completely honest and transparent about it all. Because there's nothing to hide away. You can't hide away from this. I know that I'm not going to get the nicest of comments, but rightfully so, and deservedly so as well. Like I said at the start, this is a no hold bars conversation, no excuses, and I guess it just shows. I guess it's also a message to those other young drivers that may watch this video, may not, or some of the older drivers that sort of similar age. Perhaps they had a bump or quite a big crash as well, and it just wakes you up, really. But it's just annoying that sometimes it takes a situation like this to do that, and hopefully that's the point of this video. Again, I don't want it to be too contradictory, because the whole purpose of this video is, or this channel for that matter, is video content, fast cars, etc. I guess it's just around talking, time and a place, choosing the right time, the right place to have a bit of fun. I guess. But now if we move on to the next picture, you'll see here quite a nasty red mark. Now this is one of the only injuries I actually sustained, to be quite honest, surprisingly enough, and luckily enough as well. But yeah, this is quite bad. This is quite bad friction burn from the seatbelt. So thank God I was wearing my seatbelt. So it's absolutely true. Make sure you wear your seatbelt at all times. Don't plug it in and put it behind your back or whatever. It definitely saved my life, because if I wasn't wearing it, I'd have gone through that windscreen for sure. But yeah, basically that friction burn there was horrible, because I couldn't really wear a t-shirt for a couple of, about a week or so, just over, because essentially what it's trying to do is it's trying to scab over, and then you can imagine your t-shirt's getting stuck to your chest, and that is horrible. It was nasty, but pretty minor compared to everything. I did go to hospital. I was thoroughly checked over. And thankfully didn't sustain any injuries, despite the fact that the fire brigade put me down and said that I could have, broken my back or my neck, etc. I mean, granted, to this day, I do have quite a stiff neck and stuff when it gets cold, but that's about it, to be quite honest. A bit of physio can't sort of help. So now we move on to the scene. So again, I've gone back to get some pictures. I mean, ideally, I would have liked to have got a bit of a video and a walkthrough, but it just wasn't the right environment to do that, to be quite honest. It was quite busy at the time of going back there for a few snaps. But yeah, you can see here. So this is looking back against the flow that I'd have been driving, essentially. So you can see it's a bit of a bend here. Now, again, I was driving over the limit. I was driving recklessly. This is all my fault. It is nobody's fault, essentially. However, at the time of the incident, my claim was I was driving around the bend. Now, I used to do this drive quite a lot when I used to go to the gym, and I kind of got comfortable with what I was doing, if that makes sense. Doesn't mean to say that I was speeding all the time, by the way, but the odd time that I did open it up, I knew the road quite well, etc., etc. But to be truthful, when I was coming around this corner, the reason I lost control of the car was because I saw a great big black hole where the drain cover was. So I was hugging the corner, and then I saw that the drain cover was missing. Here's a picture of the drain cover now. So I saw that the drain cover was missing, and then I immediately threw the car over to the right, and you can see this angle now. There's a bit of a slight bend, but at this time there was another car to the right-hand side. And yeah, I basically went to move back into my lane, and I lost the back end of the car. And at that point, it was panic. Obviously, naive. First, not passed my test that long. Didn't really know what I was doing. And yeah, I just didn't have time to control the car, to be quite honest. And anyone that's driven a Saxo will know that the back end is light as anything. And once it's gone, it's kind of gone. You haven't really got much chance of sort of getting it rescued, unless unless you've got a nice sort of setup on there. But again, that's for part 2. I'm going to save that. I'm going to definitely save that for part 2. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, I blamed it on that drain cover, if I'm quite honest. But listen, if I wasn't going that fast and I was driving the speed limit, I would have seen the drain cover wasn't missing. And in truth, I would have been able to move away from that hole, no questions asked, and there wouldn't have been a problem. It's just so frustrating, really, looking back at it now, because I was just so reckless. But actually, I think I just kept pushing the car, and I think it was inevitable that at some point I was going to have a crash. And again, I can look back at this with some honesty. I kind of knew that this was at some point going to happen, because I just kept pushing the boundaries, and it was going to take something like this to sort of put me back in my place, as it were. But yeah, this is the lamppost. So this is the lamppost that I hit. Hit that 55-60, as I said earlier. I mean, I can't even imagine the G-force of that, to be quite truthful. From doing 55-60 to 0. Enough force for the engine and the gearbox just to come flying out. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, look, that lamppost, how much do you think it cost me? I'm going to tell you, but in your head, how much do you think that cost me? Well, in truth, that lamppost set my insurance company back £5,600. So the road had to be closed. It needed a complete new post just because of the force. It ended up basically like a banana. So the force travelled through the post and had nowhere to go, essentially, which is why it was just bowed. The road had to be closed, had to be lifted in, had to be set, dug out, etc., etc. All in, once the highway agencies have been paid, everyone's been hired, materials have been paid for, it's probably about right. Who am I to dispute it, to be quite honest? I guess the most painful thing about it was obviously I had a claim on my insurance for the next 5 years, which surprisingly, it didn't skyrocket my premium that badly on the next round. It went up by a couple £100, to be quite honest. So you're all probably eagerly awaiting what happened with the punishments. I've switched back to this picture just to give you guys another look at it. Look, I was obviously arrested at the scene. Once I was sort of in a stable condition, as it were, and I was quickly assessed. I was arrested at the scene for dangerous driving. You couldn't exactly argue with that, could you? And then I was breathalyzed, standard procedures, and then essentially the police officer at the time said that my license was going to be revoked. I was really honest at the scene. Obviously, I was shocked and stuff, but I wasn't lying. I wasn't turning around saying a fox went out on the road. I said, look, I was going too fast. It was my mistake. I explained about the drain cover. They saw the drain cover was missing. And then when I went back to the scene a day later, actually, there was a road cone that had been put in there. So they obviously took that on board. I got a letter through the post about 3 or 4 weeks later, basically explaining that I needed to go on a driver improvement course or take 6 penalty points and a possible court appearance. I think you can guess what I took. I took the option of a driver's improvement course. It cost me a few £100. Had to take a few days out of work, but a small price to pay, to be quite honest, rather than 6 points on your license. It just made sense. I mean, in truth, I don't think you get away with that now. If you caused such a stir or such an incident like that these days, I think immediate points, no course like that. I don't know, I could be wrong. Someone might drop something in the comments to say, yeah, I had a similar incident. I got put on a driver's improvement course. I know they do it still for red light cameras and speed cameras or average speed, etc., within a certain tolerance. I know they still do that. But yeah, I took the driver's improvement course, and actually it was really good. It was quite an opener, actually, quite an eye opener, because I thought when I went to that course that I'm going to have to stand there and explain what had happened, and it was going to look really bad. But in truth, there was a lot worse on the day, which, I was completely shocked when we did that whole introduction at the start, the icebreakers, as it were. I was shocked, and I felt, I actually felt okay about being there, because obviously I was nervous around going. I just thought you're just going to stand there and almost be, slayed, as it were. But the sort of the instructor that took us out, he was really good. Surprisingly, he was basically teaching us how to power through corners and etc., which was a bit strange, but it wasn't, because we'd all lost controls of our vehicle, etc. So yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened. I went on a 3-day drivers improvement course. Had a nasty claim against my insurance, £5,600, and a huge dent in my pride. But again, a small price to pay. I'm just so thankful that I didn't involve anybody else. I had no passengers, and I was able to come out the other end of it. So that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you liked it. I'm fully prepared for the comments to go flying off in there, obviously depending on how many of you watch it. Open, honest comments, absolutely fine. Hopefully I've been open, honest and transparent around my reckless driving. And yeah, there's nothing to hide in here really, is there? The proof's in the pudding with all the pictures. What a wake-up call it was. But listen, there's lots of stuff coming. The outro is going to be a little bit of a snippet as to what came next, and you're not going to want to miss this one. I really did learn my lesson from this incident, and I took it to the next level. Some would probably gone another way, but I thought the best thing for me to do is just to move on, and here's a little bit of a snippet as to what happened.